Hi, good evening, everyone. So we start off with the orientation session for the Dbms and Java courses. First of all, we start off with a small presentation video by the Dbms team. Piyush, shall we start off with the MP4?
Hello. Yes, sure, ma'am. Yeah, just 1 minute.
Piyush, I think it is not audible, no? Sir?
Okay, so yeah, now I'm audible, right?
Yes, Piyush.
Yeah, thank you.
Of database management systems course. So this is the third run of this course. The first run of this course took place in the September month of 2021. The second run took place in the January month of 2022. And then this May 2022 is the third run of this course. So in this session, we will be giving you an idea of the contents that will be taught to you throughout the 12 weeks time duration. We will also be introducing the course faculty and the main board instructors. So let us at first begin with the course faculty, who is Dr. Partha Pratim Das, who is a professor at the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Kharagpur. Then we'll head to the course instructors. The main instructors are Piyush Vairale, myself Anjana Bhura, Subhendu Gore, and Pradeep Kumar Murthy. We also have supporting course instructors who are Arup Chattopadhyay, Bhaskar Banerjee, and Dhanya S. Then we'll head to the textbook that we will be referring to throughout the course, that is Database Systems Concepts by the author Abraham Shilpershetz, Henry Cole, and S. Subramanian. If you all have the 7th edition, that will also work. There are a number of textbooks regarding database management system in the market. So if you all have hands up on it, then we will recommend you all to go through them and solve the practice questions, the exercises and all. So that is it about the textbook. So over to you, Yusuf.
Okay, thank you, Anjana. So now we will be discussing about the course outline. So Dbms is a 12-week course. So in the first week, we'll be discussing about the introduction to the database. Okay. So in this week, we are going to discuss about what are the advantages of Dbms over a file handling system and how this Dbms system has evolved around the year. It's a basic introduction of the database. Okay. So that thing we are going to discuss. One. Now in week 2 and week 3, we will be discussing about the relation model and SQL part. So for this course, we are going to use PostgreSQL as our Dbms system. So it is recommended that you install PostgreSQL on your local machine. So the detail of this will be provided in the later part of the slide. Okay. So now coming back to our week 2 and week 3, it's mostly SQL based. To the basic SQL, we are generally dealing with DTL, DML, and Dcl command. What are different DTL, DML, Dcl commands? So in relation database, we generally store the data in the tabular format, right? How to create the table and how to insert a record in the table. What are the different types of constraints are there? Okay. So all those things are going to discuss in basic of SQL. Okay. So in interpret SQL, we'll be dealing with the various SQL commands. Like so suppose we have a database, we want to retrieve some particular data or we want some data from that particular database. So how to fetch that data? What are the various type of commands are there? Like use by command, aggregate functions are there. All those things are going to discuss in intermediate SQL. And in advanced SQL, we will be discussing about the Dcl command. Like suppose we have created one user, right? So we want to grant particular permission to that user. So how to grant those permissions, how to revoke those permissions, what are the views in SQL. All those things we are going to discuss in advanced SQL. Also, some basic part of functions and figures also just advanced. So now in the week 4, we are going to discuss about relational database fusion. Suppose we have a case study, so we have to, from that case, we have to create a ER diagram. So that is specific relationship diagram. And how to create those ER diagrams based on the case study, and how to convert that ER diagram to a relational database schema, relational database schema. So that thing we are going to discuss in the week 4. Okay. Now in week 5 and week 6, we are generally dealing with the normalization concept. Okay. So in the week 5, we will be discussing about the functional dependence. So what are the different types of keys are there? Super keys, there candidate keys, how to find them, and what are the various types of normal forms are there. So all those things are going to discuss in week 5 and week 6. So now in the week 7, it's mostly the application development. So this week, basically, we are going to learn how to connect PostgreSQL using Python. Right? Suppose we want to connect to the database using Python. We want to fetch a particular data and do some manipulation on that data using Python. So all those things we are going to discuss in week 7. Now in week 8, we will be discussing about the storage management, right? What are the different types of storage devices are there, like magnetic disk is there, right? And cloud storage is there. And what are the various file organization techniques are there? So all those we are going to discuss in the storage management. That is now in the week 9, that is mostly related to the indexing and hashing. So in this week, we are going to learn about the concept of indexing. What is primary indexing? What is secondary indexing? What is P plus P, indexing? And concept of hashing, static hashing, dynamic hashing. All those things are going to discuss in week 9. Now in the week 10, it's related to a transaction part. In this week, we are going to learn about the asset properties. What is transaction? What are the asset properties? And what is schedule? What is serializability? The concept of serializability. Then what is locking protocol? What is concurrency protocol? So all those things we are going to discuss in the week 10. So in the week 11, we are going to discuss about the backup and recovery part. There are different backup strategies are there, right? So what are different strategies, how to use that? Because all those things we are going to discuss in the week 11. So in the week 12, we'll be discussing about the query optimization part and then the overview of the code, like what we have done throughout the 12 weeks. So that thing is there. So that's it from the course outline. And don't worry if you understand any of this topic, we are here to help you. So yeah, so that's it from the course outline. Over to you, Pradeep.
Okay, thank you, Houston. Till now, you all are aware about that the Dbms course duration is 12. Each week, you will be provided a set of questions, activity question, practice question, and graded question. The graded assignment have to submit it before the given due date. Now, head to the type of question. The first objective type question, which consists of MCQ, multiple choice question, MSQ, multiple select question, and NAT. Numerical answer type question. The second type of question is the SQL query based question, in which the data set are provided to you in prayer, and based on it, you have to write an SQL query. The next type of question is programming assignment, that is based upon week 7 content, Python database connectivity. Okay, move to next slide. Now we will discuss quiz and some examination. During course run, there will be 2 quizzes, quiz 1 and the quiz 2. End of the course, there is and some examination. For quiz 1, the syllabus will be week 1 to week 4. And for quiz 2, the syllabus will be week 5 to week 8. And for the end sem, syllabus will be week 1 to week 12. Now, this quiz will be held in person in TCS Center near to your hometown. And online programming test will be taken via Gmail. Okay. Thank you. Subhendu, over to you.
Thanks, Pradeep. Hello, everyone. My name is Subhendu Gorai. Now, we will discuss about software requirement for this database management system course. For practical purpose, you need to install some software in your system. First software is PostgreSQL version 10. You should be installed in your PC on or before week 2. We prefer PostgreSQL version 10 because whatever assignments are given, we have tested in this PostgreSQL version 10. And PostgreSQL version 10 is available in all platforms like macOS, Linux, and Windows. You have to use either pgadmin4 or PSQL from for run SQL queries. Whatever we provided database instances must be loaded in PostgreSQL. This will be used for query-based assignment and programming assignment. You have to also install Python for coding programming assignment. In week 7, we are going to run Python database connectivity using Psychopg 2 module. For that, you will need Python shell. So, Python must be installed in your local machine. We have given detailed stepwise process in a PDF file how to load the database, and support will also be provided for loading databases. Replit does not support PostgreSQL, so support for accessing PostgreSQL database from Replit will not be provided. Now, I would like to summarize this orientation session. These 2 sentences, which are summer paper, said about teaching. You can't teach people everything they need to know. The best you can do is position them where they can find what they need to know when they need to know it. Thanks everyone. Thank you for watching orientation session.
Hello. Yeah, I think it is not audible clearly. Can anyone please confirm on YouTube comment, YouTube live chat? I'm audible, right?
You're audible. Okay, that's.
Yeah. So can anyone please confirm on YouTube live chat? I'm audible or not?
Yes,
Yeah,
Piyush,
Piyush.
currently you're audible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So I guess audio was not clear. So we can do the presentation live now.
Yeah, we can start the presentation now. Will you share the slides?
Yeah.
So those who are watching this, looks like the video quality and audio quality was not good. So we'll do it live now. So yeah, just wait for the content presentation to be over before posting relevant questions on the YouTube chat. So we'll do the whatever was shared as a recorded session. We'll now do it live. So please hold on for a minute. Piyush?
Yeah. Okay. So is my screen is visible? The slides also?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So hello everyone. I am Piyush Vairade. I welcome you all to today's orientation session. Okay. So we at first we'll quickly go through the Dbms slide and then we'll go for the Java. Okay.
Piyush, slides are not visible now. Please come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think now it's visible, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, hello everyone. I am Piyush Vairade. So first I will go to the DBMS slide, then we can go for the Java course. Okay. Yeah. So first we'll start with our course faculty. Yes. Dr. Partha Pratim Das, who is a professor at Department of Computer Science and Engineering at IIT Kharagpur. Okay. You can visit this website. Okay. Now we'll move on to a course instructor. So our course instructors are Piyush Vairade, Anjana Bhura, Subhendu Korai, Pradeep Kumar Murur. And our supporting course instructor are Arup Chattopadhyay, Bhaskar Banerjee, and Dhanya SN. Okay. So now we'll go for our next slide. That is our textbook. So for this course, we are taking the reference of Database System Concept, 6th edition. It is by Abraham Silversas and Code. It is a famous book. You can also refer to the 7th edition. It will also do. Okay. So, but we'll prefer the 6th edition only. Okay. Yeah. So that's about the textbook that we're going to follow throughout this course. Now we move on to a course outline. So as you all know that Dbms is a 12-week course. So here you can see the course outline. So in the week 1, that is first week, we are going to see about the introduction to the databases, right? So in this, what we will see, what we are going to see that what are the advantages of database over a file handling system, okay? How this DBMS system has evolved around the years, and all those basic part we are going to see in this week 1. Now coming back to a week 2 and week 3, which is mostly an SQL part. So at first we are dealing with the basic of SQL, right? So as you all know that in the relational databases, we store the data in a tabular format, right? So for that, how to create those tables, how to insert a record into that table, okay? What are the different types of constraints are there, how to define that. So all those things we're going to discuss in the basic of SQL. Now coming towards the intermediate of SQL. So here we are going to see some basic DML command, okay? So for example, suppose we have a database, right? So and suppose we want to fetch particular data from that particular database. So which type of command we have to use, how to select particular rows, how to apply the filtering condition. So all those things we are going to discuss in intermediate SQL. Now coming back to advanced SQL. So here we are going to discuss about the Dcl command. So what are Dcl command? So suppose we want to create one user and we want to grant some permission to them, right? So suppose I have created one role and I want to grant permission. So how to grant permission to them, how to revoke that permission, okay? So these all basic things are there in SQL that we are going to discuss in the week 2 and week 3, right? Now coming back to week 4. Now in this week 4, we are generally dealing with the relational database design. So how to design a database. So at first we will start with the ER diagram part. So here what is ER diagram? That is entity relationship diagram. So in this week, what we will do, suppose we have given a case study, then from that case study, how to design the ER diagram, and from that ER diagram, how to create a database schema. Okay. So all those things we are going to discuss in the week 4. Now in week 5 and week 6, which is basically a normalization concept. So at first in the week 5, we are going to deal with the functional dependency part. So here we will find out what are different types of keys are there, like super keys there, primary keys there, how to find them, okay, on what basis we define that. So, and then we go for a normalization. So what are the various normal forms, okay? So all those things we are going to discuss in week 5 and week 6. Now in week 7, that is more related to application development. So in this, we are generally focusing on the Python Postgres database connectivity. So throughout the course, like in this course, we are actually following the Postgres SQL as our database management system. Okay. So what is Postgres SQL? How to install that? The detail of this will be provided in the later part of the slide. Okay. We'll see that also. But at first, we'll discuss the course outline. Now in the week 7, that is application development, we are generally discussing about how to connect the PostgreSQL using Python. Once we are connect the PostgreSQL database using Python, then how to fetch that particular record, how to do some manipulation using Python. So all those things we are going to discuss in the week 7. Now in week 12, that is generally a storage management part. So in this storage management, we are generally discussing about the various storage devices. For example, magnetic disk is there, right? And what are the various file organization technique? So some basic introductory part of this we are going to discuss in the storage management, that is week 8. Now coming back to a week 9, that is indexing and hashing. So here, at first we will be discussing about the concept of indexing. What is indexing? What are the different types of indexing is there? What is V tree? What is V plus tree? Okay, and all those things we are going to discuss in week 9. And also hashing part is there. Some basic concept of hashing we are going to discuss in week 9. Now coming back to now about the week 10, that is transaction part. Now in this transaction, at first we are going to discuss what is transaction, what are the asset properties, what is schedule, what is the concept of serializability, and what is locking protocol, okay, how to achieve that. So all those things we are going to discuss in week 10. Now in week 11, that is mostly focused on backup and recovery part. So in this, we are going to discuss about the backup strategies. What are different backup strategies are there? Suppose our transaction got failed, then how to recover? What are different techniques are there? So all those things we are going to discuss in week 11. Now in the last week, that is week 12, there is some query optimization part, and then the overview of the what we have done in the 12 week. So that is the overall outline of this course. That is a 12-week course. So don't worry if you didn't understand any of this. We are here to help you. You can ask your doubt, okay, in the Google form. Now we'll be moving to our next slide. That is our weekly assessment. So in this course, we will be having 2 quizzes and 1 end semester, okay, and there will be weekly assignment. So the weekly assignment will consist of objective type question, SQL query based question, and programming assignment. So week 2 and week 3 is based on SQL part, and week 7 is based on Python database connectivity, that is programming assignment. Okay, so in week 2 and week 3 you will have objective plus SQL. The grading pattern of will be shared to you. Okay, and so these 3 types of question will be there in the weekly assessments. Okay, now about the quiz and end semester. So as I mentioned, there will be 2 quizzes and 1 end semester. Okay, the syllabus of which will be provided in the grading document. You can refer to that. Now the quiz and end semester will be focusing on the concept and the problem solving skill. Okay, so testing will involve the following components. It will have objective question, that is in-person exam centers. As you go to the TCS centers and you give the exam there. So that is the in-person at exam center, and online proctored programming tests. So here in Dbms we have online proctored exam. So in that you will be giving some SQL queries. So like a database is there, and you have to give the problem statement. You have to write the SQL queries for that. Okay, so it will be similar to the programming assignment and SQL query based assignment, but it will be a proctored exam. Okay, so detail of this also will be provided later. Okay, now the weightage of each component will be made available in the course web page. You can refer to the course web page or the grading document for the weightage of each component. Right. I hope this is clear. Now regarding the software requirement, yes, this is one of the important thing. So we are going to use PostgreSQL as our database system. So we are generally prefer version 10.20 because whatever we have question we have created for the assignment, we have tested on this version. So we recommend you all to install this PostgreSQL on your local machine. Okay, so either pgadmin or PSQL prompt should be available to run the SQL queries. So basically, when you install this PostgreSQL, you will be you can see the option of installing the pgadmin also. Okay, then how to install this PostgreSQL? The documentation will be provided to you. Okay, in the first week itself. So don't worry about that. Yeah. So the database instance provided by the instructor must be loaded in the PostgreSQL installation. Yeah, so that is the thing. Then this will be used for the query-based assignment and programming assignment. Python for coding programming assignment must be installed. Okay, so then instruction for installation of PostgreSQL will be provided as a PDF. Support will also be provided for the loading the databases. So as I mentioned, the PDF will be provided to you. Yeah, in the live session also we'll discuss this part. Okay, so don't worry about it. Now for support for accessing the PostgreSQL database from Replit will not be provided because Replit doesn't support the PostgreSQL. Okay, so we are not going to provide any support for this Replit. Okay, so that's it from the software requirement. Yeah, so I want to sum up this entire our orientation session with this one famous quote. So you can teach people everything they need to know. The best you can do is position them where they can find what they need to know and when they need to know it. Okay, so I think that's that's from our side. You can ask your question in the form mentioned. Okay, in the Google form. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so shall we take the questions now?
Yeah, we can see if there are any. You can actually answer the questions in the form, the Google sheet, right? Whatever we got, that you can answer in case.
Yeah,
I'll share. Yeah.
sure, ma'am. 1 minute.
Ma'am, then after we do the Java orientation, then should we answer all the question?
Okay, that's also fine. Yeah, then we'll do that. Piyush, that's okay.
Yes, then sure. Together we can do the question session.
Yeah, sure. Then, so I'll once again try to share the recorded video of the orientation session for Java. If it's still not clear, please, I'll just wait for, play for 2 minutes and wait for a response. If you say that it is still not clear, we'll do the live just like we did it for the Dbms. Apologies for the same. So I'll just share it, okay?
I think it's not audible.
Is it audible now, Aru?
No.
Now?
No. Is it with me or others
No,
also?
it's not audible.
Not audible.
Now?
Ma'am, is your audio setting set to same as system in the Zoom meeting?
Not sure. Let me see. So should we do it live? I'm not sure.
It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, let us go live. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so just give me a minute, Aru. Hold on one second. Let me just stop sharing this and share the slides, okay? Yeah, Aru, you can start.
Okay, so hello everyone. So we want to understand a few key points about this, how we'll go about this programming concept using Java. So this is a course which come under the diploma in programming, right? So I'm Arup. So first we want to get to know like who is our course faculty. So can we go next? Yeah. So it's Dr. Madhavan Mukund sir. So you know already like him. So if you want to get the details, the link is already given. Now who are the course faculty, course instructors? So we are 5 course instructors are there. So Arup, myself, Anand Kumar, Bhaskar Banerjee, Dhania, and Nalini, right? So we our 5 instructor will be helping you out throughout the sessions, like throughout your entire course. Okay, so let us next go for the course outline, right? So what are the topics which will be covered in this 12 week? So 12 weeks, basically the first 6 weeks I'll discuss. The rest of the 6 weeks, Bhaskar will discuss, right? So I'll go week wise. So you can see the first in week 1, introduction. So what we'll be covering out, we'll start with the basic question, what a programming language is, right? Then we'll try to differentiate what are the high level programming languages, what are the low level programming languages. So we'll try to mention the programming styles, right? So declarative, imperative kind of styles of programming. And also we'll discuss something called as a ADT, abstract data types, right? Next, we discuss little bit about the types, right? So, whenever some information is stored into the memory, it's just like bit streams, right? It's a stream of bits. They're basically stored in the memory, but how to interpret them correctly? So you have to apply a data type to it. So whenever I'm saying it's an integer, I basically know how much data or amount of data I need to read. I know what are the operations which are applicable and how to do those operations, right? So you want to understand the types, right? Then next, what we go for next, like once you know the type, what we do using type, we declare some variables, we initialize them, we store the values into the memory. So what is the purpose of a variable? To store certain data in our program, which will store the intermediate values of our program, right? Now, the variables also could be of different kind. They could be local, right? So local means they are declared within a functions. They could be a global, they're declared outside of functions, or they may be allocated on runtime. So these variables, different kind of variables are having different way to be stored in the memory, right? How they will be stored in the memory, that's a different. And also we need to understand their lifespan, the lifetime, and the scope. So those will be discussed in the topic called as a memory management. Then we go for something called as a abstraction on modularity. So we'll learn what is meant by a code abstraction. What do you mean by a data abstraction? We'll learn about the modularity, what is the advantage of modularity, and what are the approaches we take to achieve modularity in a program. Next, we start with the concept of the object-oriented programming. So as you know, like one of the aspect of this particular course to learn object-oriented. So as per the course name, it is basically programming concepts using Java. So you need to learn different programming concepts. But for writing the example, what language we'll use? We'll be using Java. But what we learn will focus on the different programming concepts. So object-oriented programming, here is the core concept which we are going to learn using Java programming, right? So we'll discuss different attributes of key features of Java programming, rather, like inheritance, subtyping, then dynamic lookup, that kind of concepts. Then we try to learn the main two structure of our object-oriented programming, that's a classes and objects. But whenever we are on week 1, we'll do a bit of programming, but everything will be done on Python, because we makes a clear transition from a Python programming and a Java. So compared to Python, Java is much syntax heavy language, right? So we'll go the transition slowly. So we'll try to give the examples in the week 1 using simple Python codes. So we'll get introduced to the Java programming first into week 2. So we'll start with a very simple hello world kind of program. So we'll come to know how to write a program in Java. Simple hello world kind of thing, just gives the output, write a line on the output device, right? So we'll also learn uh, how to compile a Java code, and we'll also learn how to run the Java code, right? So those things will be done first in the week 2. Then we'll learn the basic data types of the Java programming. Like any programming language you want to learn, you need to learn the basic data types, right? We also learn syntaxes, right? So it could be a control flow, right? Conditional statements, then looping statements. So those we need to learn. Then we'll try to write the classes and objects in Java, right? So from here, basically the object orientation starts it. We start the coding with the object oriented way. So with the classes and objects. But remember, like whenever I say Java, everything we do, it's by default object oriented, right? Okay. So next, we also learn the input and output in Java. That's basically how you can take two inputs from user and how you can add up and show the result to the user, right? So that's a basic kind of program. You need to have some input from the user and show certain output. So at this point, you'll be ready to start with your programming assignments, right? So you need to submit them online. Okay, so let us go for the week 3. We'll start with the philosophy of object-oriented programming. We'll come to understand or come to know how it is different from a structured programming language like a C or that kind of thing, right? So we'll go for an understanding what is the approach of object-oriented design. So we'll come to know different object-oriented approaches or the features like subclasses, inheritance, etc. Then there are more that like dynamic dispatch, polymorphism. So these are the features of object-oriented programming. So once the course will start, you'll come to know what are those things. Then Java class hierarchy. Then what is the difference between subtyping and inheritance? There are certain modifiers which are basically used for declaring the declaring purpose, but actually they are a way to achieve different object-oriented features in Java. So we'll learn the modifiers like a public, private, static, final. So we'll discuss them. Okay, can we move to the next week, fourth week? Next slide. Okay, thank you. Okay, so week 4, we start with abstract classes and interfaces. Those are special kind of classes. Then we move to much special kind of classes called as private classes. We'll also try to learn something called as a nested objects over here. And these private classes and nested objects could be used to create something called as a controlled interaction with the objects. There is some kind of special functions. Those are called as callbacks. There are something called iterators, which let you traverse into some data structure. Like, so whenever you have learned the data structure, you have learned different kind of data structure like a linked list, tree. So you know, like for each kind of data structure is a different way to traverse into the data structure. So basically this iterator lets you do traverse into the Java data structures. So 5th week, we go for very specific topic known as a generic programming, right? So first, what is generic program? It's something like you write an algorithm and you want the algorithm will be applicable for different data types. So I want to write a search algorithm which will search an integer from 1,000 of integers, right? Now I want the same algorithm will also work for 1,000 character. It can find out one character, maybe from 1,000 string. It can find out a string, maybe from 1,000 complex number, it will find out a particular complex number. So that's basically generic programming is called. So we'll come to know how to do that. Then subtyping, like can we extend it further? Reflection is a way like we can inspect or look into a class or a interface and find out what are there inside it, right? So we'll also come to know like how generics will be converted in the runtime in the week 6. We go for a very important topic, collections. So collections in a way these are the data types. It's basically the types which can store multiple values at a time into a particular variables, right? Similar to array concepts, right? We can store multiple values at a time into a particular variable. So we'll have a collections. So there are different kind of collections over in Java. So like a list type, set type, map type. So we'll go for each and everything over here. So next 6 week, Bhaskar will discuss, right? So Bhaskar, over to, please.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so hello all. I'm Bhaskar Banerjee. I would be one of the instructor in this course and would try to help you out during the course run. So in this outline, as Arup sir has, so before starting the specific details of the content in these weeks, so I would just like to highlight another point once again, which Arup sir, told all of you once, which is this course, this language Java. So I am seeing some of you are asking questions in the YouTube chat that why Java and why when we have Python already. So that's quite a good question and obviously a very normal question that could come up. So why Java when we already have Python? So before answering that, just one more point I would like to say that, and then we will move to the content. That see, the thing is, at first Java is much more syntax heavy. It's told already than Python. You have to write a lot of thing in order to do the same work that you do in Python, right? In Java, you have to write a lot more thing. But since you have to write a lot more thing, that also gives you a lot more control. Since it is syntax heavy, that is the only reason it gives you a lot more customizations also. Okay, so the same thing which is a disadvantage is also an advantage once you learn it. Okay, Python will not give you that much efficiency, so to say, once you understand the real. See, up till now, when someone learns Python and makes a code, your ultimate focus is to develop the application, right? Whatever you are thinking. But in real life, when you would be moving into industries, working in the working part of it of your programming journey, right? So then only developing the end application is not the only goal. You would also have to make it in a way so that it's quite efficient in multiple ways, in multiple factors, maybe memory factors, speed factors, all those things are there. Cross-platform dependability. So three advantages of Java I just told you. It's much more memory efficient. It's much more speedy, right? And also it has better cross-platform portability with respect to Python. Okay, so even if we do not go into the details of all those things, we'll go in when we start the course. But also another important point is that since Java is quite syntax heavy, it also helps you to fine tune a lot of things, do a lot of customization in a way that Python will not provide you. So you can restrict many things, you can allow many things in a so to speak. It gives you a better granularity of the semantics of the programming language. Okay, and that is the very reason it is more syntax heavy. So our primary focus in this course is to understand the object oriented design, how you actually map a real life problem into an object oriented world by applying the concepts of object oriented programming, so that it becomes easier for you to develop a software to solve that problem. So that is the main intent of this course. Java is just the tool to achieve it. Okay, so our main focus is sir has made this course, Professor Madhavan sir has made this course mainly with the intent that we want to uh, learn about the object oriented programming concepts, and to map the real life problem which you hear into the object oriented pattern. So and then you can develop the code for that. Okay, but that mapping is very important, because once you start writing the code and after coding for, let's say, 1 month or 2 months, then you realize something inherently wrong with the pattern with which you started. It would be a nightmare to undo that, right? So it's very important you plan the things, you transform the real life problem into the programming skeleton, programming blueprint that you would be referring to while coding the thing up, right? That mapping should be, that transformation should be proper. So those concepts is what we want to discuss. And now we will move to the contents. So in week 7C, you are already familiar in Python about exceptions and errors, right? Compilation error, runtime error. So we will learn about same exception and error thing in Java. And it's quite similar. There is not much difference in that. Only thing is that there are a little bit more concepts which you most probably have not learned in Python, like chaining exceptions and all those things. So we would discuss those things in detail, but primarily it's the same thing as you have learned in Python. After that, we would learn something about packages. So what are packages is essentially like it sounds, it basically a collection, a modular collection of different related code. So let's say you have developed code on a specific utility. Let's say you have developed a code on some visualization. You want some specific codes in Java you have written, which would take the data and let's say it generates a bar graph or whatever, right? For visualization purpose. Let's say another 4-5 code you have, program you have written, which is related to a web framework. You want to do something on the web, right? Something like that. And let's say another set of program is there which works on some normal utility, let's say some arithmetic operations, some programs to, let's say, calculate factorial and stuff like that. So it would be ideal for you if you store all this in separate folders, right? And give the folder name accordingly, so that you can refer to the specific code in a modular fashion when you require. You will just browse through the folder name, you will understand, okay, my code related to web framework must be within the folder named web framework, something like that, correct? So packages actually gives you the utility for that. It actually encapsulates the different related programs into separate folders, which we call packages. and you can actually use these packages and fetch the proper code and in respective program where you want to use them. Okay, so basically it's that. After that, we will learn about assertions and logging. So assertions is basically in a program where you are forcing something, you are checking that whether some assumption that we have made in the code is holding at certain line of code or not. So what I mean is, while we write a big program, there are many assumptions that we are taking, right? That okay, so this let's say this array is traversed and some changes are made, and after a certain function call which was modifying that array, I'm assuming that a specific condition in that array is satisfied, something like that. And depending upon that, I'm moving forward in my code. So you can use assertions to check whether that assumed condition is actually holding or not. And mainly it is used in the testing purpose. So when you use assertion in normal development purpose also, but it is mostly used while testing the software, right? So that we will discuss in detail. Logging is just like normal logging in Python. If you want to log a particular event with a certain level of importance, you can do that, and then maybe see that logger to check the severity of an event and to do the proper auditing. Okay, so that's logging. Then we will learn about cloning. So cloning is basically you would be able to create a copy of the object in Java in a specific way. There are memory requirements. There are various memory concepts related to cloning and normal copy. Why in the first place we are giving a fancy name like cloning to simple copying of an object, right? What is the concept? What is the difference between a simple copy and cloning? So all these things are related to the internal memory management stuff. So we will discuss that also in detail, why we use cloning. And then type inference. So in Python, you would have never written the data type specifically while creating a variable, right? Whatever value you put in that variable, the data type would be accordingly considered implicitly by Python. But in Java, it's a statically typed language. So you have to define the data type whenever you create a variable, integer, float, double, whatever, string, fine. So you have to define the data type. But at later versions of Java, it actually provides type inference to a certain extent, not completely like Python, to a certain extent. And we would learn about that it would be able to actually guess the data type by checking whatever value is being stored to a certain extent. It's not just like Python where you can do all the things. Okay, but that is actually the advantage, right? I mean, we told you that this greater syntax heavy thing, greater what should I say? This more verbose kind of behavior in Java is actually helping you to do a lot of debugging very easily, and also to manipulate things, customize things in a better way. So I mean, error in Python, if there is a big code and there is some error occurring due to some data type mismatch, it's a bit difficult to find that in a big software, in a real life software. Okay, there are techniques to do that, but I'm generally saying it's not quite easy as Java or any other statically typed language. The reason for that is, here you can be sure that I have declared a data type specifically for a variable and it cannot store anything else. But in Python, if you just simply in a variable you store a list, and then in the other second you modify that variable to store an integer value, you can do that. There is no such problem. You can do that in a way. Here it will not be allowed. So those things are there. Such kind of error would not occur. But that's why Java is statically typed and it will not allow you. But in some situation, we may need the inference of type would be beneficial for us, and Java actually takes care of that by allowing you to have type inference in some certain requirements. Okay, some specific areas. After that, we will learn about higher order functions. So higher order function, or we also call them lambdas, are basically function which you can, functions where the definition or the body of the function is not required to, it's not required that you may not have the body of the function defined, but you can work with the function in some other part of the code. So to describe it properly, let's discuss a situation. So let's say you as a new programmer is working in a company, and let's say you have been given a specific part of the project in which a specific code part of the code you have to write. Okay, not the whole program, just the code corresponding to a specific part in that program you have to write. Some other person, one of your colleague is working on some other parts, and like that it's happening, right? And that's how it will be in practical life. Now, let's say the requirement is such that the other team would provide the implementation of the function depending upon use case. Okay, there is one function whose implementation would be provided by the other team depending upon the use case when it is run, when the program is run. But you, as the programmer working on another part, have to define the program, have to use the program that sorry, have to use that function in the part of your code that you are writing, right? But its implementation is not there, and the implementation would vary depending upon use case. But the function name and signature will not change; it could be there. So you have to write the code considering these factors. So how can you do that? So basically, higher order function and lambdas provide you to have functions which may not have body, and that body of the function, that definition of the function will change upon the use cases when it is run. You can have that. Such functions are actually quite helpful, and those functions are called lambdas or higher order function. We will discuss that in the specific module. After that, we will learn about streams. So streams is basically a specific representation of the data structures or collections that we will learn in week 6, right? Streams can also be used. Streams is not exactly that, but from the application point of view, it would be used in that in such a manner. But in generally, streams means, as Arup sir also described you, it's just a stream of data, it's stream of bits. That's it. But what is the advantage? Why we are learning that? That we will discuss, and it would be much more clearer when you learn the collections. So the idea is, when you have data structures, you have to traverse through them in order to operate upon them, right? Now, Java provides you a mechanism to convert that complex data structure, maybe a nested list of dictionary or whatever, a very complex data structure, into a form on which you can operate very easily. You do not have to write a very complex code to traverse through the complex data structure and work on that. So streams actually help you in achieving this. So we'll discuss that. And in week 9, we will learn about optional types. So optional types are basically a specific type of variable which can store the result which you are performing on the streams. Fine, we will learn it in that context. There are some other uses of optional as well, but you will learn it in the context that whatever operation you perform on the streams, that can be stored in an optional type variable, some operation, not all operation. So, and what is the requirement? Why did we came up with such a specific type in the first place to store the result of operations on a stream? That would be much more clear when we reach that week. Okay. After that, you can see that collecting result from streams, as I was talking, that once you have converted the collection into the stream format and you have completed working on that, right? Now you have to collect the result from that stream, right, and convert it into again a collection. So our main motive was, since working on the collection is quite difficult when you have a very complex collection. Collection is just data structures, complex data structure. In Java, we call the data structures as collection. So when you have such a difficult data structure, you can convert them into streams. You can work upon that because it is easier to work on streams. And then you have to again convert that stream into the collection again, correct? So that is what we will learn in week 9, and some other with some other features of streams as well. We will discuss that. And serialization and input output stream is mainly the file handling part. So you know that in Python you all have learned about how to write and read a file. So Java does that in a much more I would say in a much more detailed way. In Python, you would just write a with open and read and write from the file. In Java, you can do that in a much more customized way, I would say. Right. So that is done using serialization and input output. Yeah. Ma'am, can we go to the next slide? Okay. So in week 10, we will learn about concurrency and parallel execution with threads. So in CT, you must have read about concurrency and parallel execution a little bit, but programmatically, I don't think you all have learned anything as part of the course. So this is where we would learn about this in the programming part of having parallel execution using threads and having a concurrent program, right? So in week 10, we will basically learn about the concepts of multi-threading, the theoretical idea. So what are threads in the first place? right? And what is race condition, right? So all those things we will learn. Mutual exclusion. So basically the idea is, if you want a basic overview, the thing is, in order to increase the throughput, what we would do is we would actually have threads. So threads are basically different unit of execution. So up till now your program was executed by a single thread, but once you have multiple thread, it just like multiple persons are doing the same work, right? Dividing the work among them, right? So each thread would execute a specific part of the code, and in a parallel way, in a sorry, not parallel way, in a concurrent way, it would execute, and that's how you would get a better throughput. The program would execute faster. But a problem with respect to this is, since your program is executed in a multi-threaded fashion, you may run into inconsistency issue. That is, let's say if you have a shared data which is being manipulated by two functions. So when you call the two function in a sequence, you are always sure of the result. What would be the result, or what would be stored in that shared variable, shared data, right? But let's say if the order is not guaranteed, right? And one function is called first in one scenario, in another scenario, the other function is called first. In such a situation, what can happen is the data would differ at the end of your execution, right? And why I am saying this, different scenario is arising. Different scenario is arising because threads can execute in any possible order. It's not that one thread would always execute first and the other would start after it finishes, after the first finishes. It can be in any random other threads can execute their part. Let's say thread 1, thread 2, thread 3, there are 3 threads. It can happen that thread 2 execute first and thread 1 at last. And let's say after you finish that execution and again rerun your code, this time thread 1 execute faster than thread 2 and thread 3 comes last. So any possible order is allowed. In such a situation, what happens is any shared data that you have, that the value of that data can change depending upon which thread executed first and what is the order. This is essentially the race condition, right? The threads are racing among them to do their work. Now, this may be unwanted in scenarios where you want to some sanity of the data, right? And in such situation, what you have to do is you have to restrict the threads to execute some specific parts of the code in a parallel way, right? So some specific parts you want them to be executed in a serial fashion. So that is how I mean, that can be achieved by using mutual exclusion. And in order to have the feature of mutual exclusion, you have different tools at your disposal. So those tools are monitor, synchronization, test and set, all these things are there. Okay, so that was the basic idea. In week 11, we will learn about the programming part of this concept. So week 10 is mainly focused on the conceptual and theoretical part of threading. Week 11, we will see how Java handles multi-threading. We will learn all those. We will run synchronization between the thread, how to achieve mutual exclusion in thread, all those things, and a little bit of thread safe collection. So collections, you know, data structures, right? And thread safe means, let's say multiple threads are working on the same collection, same data structure together in a simultaneous fashion, right? So it can happen one thread hinders the work of other, or hinders in the sense means, let's say one change made by one thread is not reflected by other thread or something like that, right? So if you have a reader writer relation, so it may not always operate in the way you want. Someone is reading, someone is writing, but it may not be synchronized on the same data structure. So how to have those things, and what I mean, we will learn about those concepts in thread safe collections. And then at the last, week 12, we will learn about the graphical user interfaces. So whatever concepts you learn till week 11, if you want to have a end application, so you have to present it in a way so that the simple layman can understand, right? So they don't always want to have a terminal on which they would write the code to run a program. So in order to convert that into a very user-friendly user interface, I mean, a very a user interface, how to do that, that we will learn using Swing. We will create some simple front end for your application, whatever you have made from week 1 to, or whatever you all have learned from week 1 to week 11. We would have a nice front end for that. Front end in the sense means it's not like web application. Front end means the user interface I'm talking about. So how to have graphical user interface of the program that we make using the concepts of week 1 to week 11, how to add a graphical user interface in front of that. That's what we will learn about in week 12, and we will use the Swing toolkit to have that. Right. So that was overview of the content, and yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you. Hello, Anand sir. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Bhaskar. Good evening, everyone. Now let me discuss about how weekly assessments will be conducted. So weekly assessments will be conducted in two modes: objective type questions and programming assignments. Objective type questions given from week 1 to 12, and programming assignments given for week 2 to 9. So here objective type questions, three types: activity questions, practice questions, and graded questions. So here activity and practice questions. Okay. So these questions marks are not okay considered for your final marks evaluation. So these activity and practice questions mainly for practice purpose. Okay. So activity questions, practice questions are bridge to the graded questions. Okay. Now coming to programming assignments. So you should complete your programming assignment, okay, using the programming assignment description, as well some template code will be given. So using the template code and the programming assignment description, you should complete your programming assignment. Okay. So here practice programming assignment, okay, it is practice purpose, and a graded programming assignment marks, okay, considered for your final marks evaluation. Okay. So next quiz and end term explained by Daniel. Over to Daniel.
Yeah. Hi. Am I audible?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this is about the pattern for quiz and end term that we're planning to follow for the Java course. So, I mean, people are already in the course, right? Who have completed the foundational and who have completed certain courses in the diploma level. Must well be aware of the level to which the concepts are tested here. So definitely this course also involves testing of concepts and your problem solving skills. That is application of these concepts to solve real life scenarios, right? So this will involve two components. One is the objective questions, which are those questions which you answer from the in-person proctored exam centers. And the other component is the online proctored programming exams, which you'll be writing from your home. So again, once again, people who have completed the foundation would know how the proctored exams are done. For the direct entry students, I would say that this is actually, you will be monitored via Google Meet, to which you will log in via your mobile phone. And while you will be answering your questions on the laptop, and you will have to keep the mobile phone at a right distance where the proctors will be able to monitor you and ensure that you are not involved in any malpractice while you're answering these questions. So we also have a system by which we ensure that the alt tab is disabled. That is, you cannot change the tab. If you change the tab, that is logged into the server, and we take note of all those things. Okay. So that's about the online proctored exams, and this proctored exam have a high weightage in the final evaluation, final score as well. So we are planning to have two proctored exams for the Java course, because ultimately it is about programming, and we want to test your two separate phases of the whole course. And the weightage for each component, right? The objective question, the proctored programming component, all these will be made available in the course webpage, and the grading patterns document, it will be made available. So you can clarify all your questions, doubts on that from that document. Yeah, so what is the support given by us? We are planning to have 3 weekly live sessions depending on demand, one for activity questions and one for practice assignments or something like a solve with instructor, and the third one will be an open session. So activity questions, Anand has already described. These are like just quick recall questions. I'm explaining these purely from perspective of direct entry people, because others must be quite familiar with the pattern involved. So the straight recall kind of questions, these we will discuss in the live session. So people have not understood the how even these simple questions were answered, can come in these sessions and ask us some clarified questions. Practice assignments, as Anand mentioned, it is like something like a bridge between the activity questions and the graded assignment. So graded assignment questions generally of a little higher level, wherein you have to apply concepts of multiple videos. For instance, activity questions are specific to each lecture, whereas the graded assignment questions, you'll have to combine the concepts across lectures. And to enable you to do that, we have certain practice assignments for which a solution also is provided. And then we have one open session within which you can ask questions on that particular week, or any concepts related to that question in that week. We also have the discourse discussion, as you're already aware. The discourse is a discussion forum. So when you post your questions, it's not just from the course support team that you get responses. Instead, you will get your learners also helping you, people who are experienced in Java or people who have understood the concepts better and quicker. They will also be helping you in the discussion forum. We can also understand the level to which people are understanding by your responses, as well as the doubts that you're posing in the discourse. We also discuss about whenever there is a timeline to be met and all that. So those kind of discussions which we need to take your opinion. We'll have maybe some certain polls also in the discourse just to get your opinion on how to go about things. And then additional tutorials as and when required. Certain topics may be slightly difficult to follow, but in general Java, it is not, I wouldn't say it's a difficult course, but yeah, in case you need additional help, we'll try to provide additional tutorials also. Yeah, mock exams wherever needed. So just before the quiz 1, quiz 2, we try to provide the mock exams so that the person who is attending that course, right? I mean, he's doing it for the first time. So then you get a clear idea, he or she gets a clear idea about how much time will be required to answer that question. So the generally attempting the mock exam on a timed basis is I would say your responsibility. Like you can plan something like 1 hour, I have to finish this paper, 45 minutes, I have to finish this paper. So the timing has to be planned and has to be managed by the student himself or herself. And then we have a revision session. So generally for end term, we don't give the mock exam because by the time you reach the end term, you kind of know how to manage the time, the kind of questions that will be asked and the time management that required for the end term, you will be aware when you are, writing the quiz 1 and 2. And revision session, of course, revision session will be there for quizzes and end term. This will be part of the live sessions that we have. So in those sessions, what we try to do is we share the slides ahead, like something like a, combined slides for all the weeks together. It's generally the slides which you've taken from the sir's videos, we would have compressed the content. And then in these sessions, we also try to explain the concepts in a compressed manner so that, it's something like a quick recall for people who have already seen the concepts. And the expectation is like the number of hours required. So if you have a Java programming background, then probably the amount of hours that you have to spend on this is minimal. Whereas if you are new to, object-oriented programming as such, of course, Python has components of object-orientedness, but in Java, people generally find that every single statement that you write, has something to do with an object. Everything has to be done using an object. So generally, people find the transition slightly tricky. This is something we observed in the first run of the course. So it can be a little tricky. So to master that, you might have to put in a little extra effort if you do not have a programming background in Java, or for that matter, C++ or somewhere where you have used these objects and classes and objects. So we've been getting lots of queries on how many courses are advisable. So if you're a working professional or a student with absolutely no background in programming, then 2 courses are advisable. Even for others, people who are, students who are doing computer science, say BTech or something, then they take 3 courses and they come back during the Vivas and tell us, okay, I didn't have time. So what we would strongly suggest is if you have to make use of this IITM way of learning and extract the maximum out of it, you should probably spend more time on each course. If you're just focusing on getting minimum marks, then probably at some point, if you're looking for placements from IITM, you might not even be able to reach that minimum target if you just rush through the courses. So do not underestimate the difficulty level of the courses here. I mean, what you have seen in foundation, yes, if you have had a maths background, stats background, that would have seemed much easier for you. Especially, your students have just done 11th and 12th, they would have been working out these problems on and off. So with respect to maths and stats, if you found it easier, then probably this is not going to be easy for you. So unless you have a programming background, right, unless specifically in some object-oriented programming language, I would suggest that Java should be taken along with only 1 more course. But yes, it's a totally your call. So just take this as one of the inputs that will enable you to make a decision. But yes, you can attend other orientation sessions as well and then take a call on this. Yeah, we strongly encourage discussion among students via discussion forums or whatever modes you have, say WhatsApp groups or whatever discussions you have. But limit your discussions to collaboration and not copying the answers from each other, because ultimately when you go into writing the quizzes or the end term, you are all alone and you have to do it yourself. So we would strongly advise that, in fact, IITM always encourages collaboration between students. but ultimately the final solution has to be figured out by you. And even during programming, programming assignment questions, writing every single line of program by yourself, you will learn a lot more than when you have, when you take program from someone. You may assume that, okay, I'll just go through the code and understand. But when you are writing a code by yourself, you will clearly see the difference between how much you learn from writing by yourself and taking the code from someone else. And yeah, active participation in all modes of tests, more specifically the proctored exams, because see, for any programming stream, right, programming courses, it is very important for us to get an idea about whether you are able to do the programming on your own. See, writing objective questions, you have an option from which you can choose. So it can be a hit or a miss in many cases. No, it is not necessary that you have learned the various aspects of programming. Instead, we have to evaluate and assess whether you have understood to write code in Java. The importance of attending proctored exams cannot be stressed enough. Okay, so please ensure that you participate in all modes of tests, because it will eventually help you when you're sitting for placements and when you're trying to further your career in this area. Of course, I'll come to the data science part of it later. There have been many queries on what Java is doing in the data science. I'll come to that in a short while. Constructive inputs via discussion forums. Yeah, I've mentioned that. And yes, we expect that everyone would maintain a decorum in the forums and live sessions, because ultimately now you are part of the IITM ecosystem, and that will be an expectation. Even when you are going for when you are attending Vivas, you have to be respectable, you have to be presentable. Not just forums and live sessions, but also Viva and whichever whichever conference where you are interacting with others, we have to maintain that. And yes, cooperate with the instructor team. So when I say cooperate with instructor team, I also mean like whenever we are asking you for feedback on certain sessions that have happened, so proctored exams or our the live sessions, tutorials, lectures, the question types, everything, please give us sufficient input so that we can at least improve the next time. Please understand that whatever improvements you see here this time has been due to the suggestions which have been given by your seniors. So we seriously hope that you would also give us inputs. And also, like when there is a delay from our side on certain things, please understand that we are working constantly to bring out the best in all of you, and give you a best experience as possible from this. So we are working constantly. We have to interact with a number of teams to get certain things done, right? So there is the operations team, the studio team, the transcripts team, the question paper team, then the pod team, whom we call as the course support team. So there are a number of teams, number of people who are involved in getting things done for you. So just have some patience before you get to see the output of what some grievance you have raised. So just cooperate with us, and we'll try to do the best as is possible from our side. Okay. Yeah, so we have the software and hardware requirements. So yeah, Anand, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, there are some specific hardware and software requirements for this course. So coming to the hardware requirements. So a desktop or laptop with 8 GB RAM is strongly recommended. You should have a mobile phone with a good camera for attending online proctored exams. Okay, fully functional headphones or earphones and microphone are also required for Gmeet Vivas or Replit interviews. Okay, next coming to software requirements. Okay, you should have Windows 10 or Linux Ubuntu 20.04 or higher, or any other OS like Mac that can emulate Ubuntu 20.04 via a VM or otherwise. You must have the Chrome browser in your system with a Google account sign. A working version of Java 11 should be accessible either as a local installation or via on an online interface like Replit. Here, Replit is online interface, and apart from Replit, you can also use offline interface like Eclipse also. Okay, so here you can use either Replit or Eclipse, okay, in order to write and run your Java programs. Okay. Next, a good working knowledge of Replit is mandatory as it will be used throughout the course, and you should have good internet connection also. Ma'am, I have done.
Yeah, thanks, Anand. So with that, we come to the end of this presentation. Now we'll try to answer the questions that you posted by the Google form. I'll stop sharing this for a while. So let me start off with the questions for the database management systems course. Shouldn't the difficulty level be raised in the diploma level? So see, the difficulty level, as we have been observing, is it's highly relative. So am I audible? I just want to check.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
yes.
You are
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Okay, thank you. So see, difficulty level is something that we are finding it, it's a relative term in the sense that, as I've just mentioned, depends on the background of people. So unlike you see in a college, right, a typical college scenario where all students are of similar and comparable backgrounds, here we have people from all kinds of backgrounds, right? People from commerce stream, humanities stream, computer science, or something like, people with about 20 years of experience, 25 years of experience, or who have taken a break of, say, career break for many years. So there are people from different backgrounds. If you are generally from a programming background, or better still, if you are a DBA or a database architect or a database designer, then the DBMS course must be a cakewalk. On the other hand, if you are seeing these things for the first time, then clearly the difficulty level is going to be much higher than what you would have seen in the foundational course. So that's what I would like to say about the difficulty level of the course, which is the best parallel course along with DBMS. So while I would refrain from recommending something as a strong combination with the DBMS, I would suggest that I would give a humble suggestion. Maybe you could try doing the application development course 1 or Java. So I am not suggesting anything on the data science stream because I may not be competitive enough to do that. But with respect to the programming stream, if you ask me, probably DBMS plus Java, DBMS plus AppDev1 will be a good combination. What subject should I opt for term 1, 2, and 3? Okay, so that's a big question. So I guess you should attend the course counseling session where you will be given, you can ask questions and you'll be given suggestions on the, if it's about a mix and match between the data science stream and the programming stream, I would suggest that would be probably a better place to pose these questions, because I may not be able to give you unless I know your background, and yeah, it might be a little difficult, tricky thing. Okay. So I'm concerned about the subject as many programmer colleagues have told me Java is very difficult. Should I do any course preparation for Java? Should it be taken alone in one term? So AC, I have been saying that the difficulty level is very relative. Your friend has no background in programming, or even only the Python programming that we have had. Of course, Python has object-oriented concepts taught in it, but Java is more like very much tied to that object-oriented concept. So initial weeks will be difficult when you have to see everything as an object, right? Anything you want to do on Java, even simply printing a statement, right? That actually you can do only using a class or an object. So it's so tied to that object-oriented concept, right? So getting to that mode can be a little tricky. Should I go for programming subjects right now, since I'm from a non-programming background and there is college burden too? A lot of students are like me. Please see. If you don't have a background, then all the courses are going to be of comparable difficulty level, if that's what you're asking. But if you have some background in the data science, then probably you can finish off that and come to this. Or if you think your following years are going to be more difficult, then you can probably do the more difficult one right now. So you should be planning something like when you're going to have difficult time in your parallel courses, and then based on that, you should now take what you're more familiar with and what you're not. If it is all the same difficulty level here right now, then I guess you will have to do every course at any point of time. So it doesn't really matter which courses you take right now. So for more inputs on that, please join that course counseling session which you're planning to have. Okay, which course can I take along with DBMS? I think I've already addressed that. Is it based on MySQL? No, in the presentation we've said that it is PostgreSQL, not MySQL. I heard the following feedback in yesterday's filter copy session. The course starts easy in first 4 weeks and suddenly picks up the pace. Can you please clarify this? For which weeks in particular do a learner with decent programming experience? Okay. See, yeah, for database management system, the first 4 weeks are like what any programmer who has experience in DBMS would feel easy to. Something like it has more to do with the SQL queries and understanding SQL queries and a little bit of comparison with Python code and all that. Just give me a minute. Yeah, from the 5th week onwards, we have something more theory intense where where it comes to designing of a database, something like where you have to go for functional dependencies, normalization, all these concepts. It's more like from 5th week, it's kind of going uphill. So yeah, it can be a little confusing, but with a lot of practice, it should be very much doable. Will it be too heavy to take DBMS plus MAD1 for a person who's completely new to this field, and how much time and effort is required? The instructors give live demonstration of the concepts if you're not able to. Yeah, so for DBMS as well as AppDev, we have live sessions in which we'll be demonstrating the running of queries, SQL queries. And even for AppDev 1, there will be live coding sessions which will be happening, live sessions which you have to attend. So there will be a lot of help from the instructor side, to help you pick up that pace in coding. If you do not have a background, that's totally fine. But then, yes, there is also a big theory intense part in DBMS which you will have to take care, which you will have to work out on your own. A lot of extra effort will have to go into it. What are extra efforts the students are expected to put for success in this course? So I think that's a very generic question. See, extra efforts in the sense, see, unless you have done any course in diploma, you will not know the intensity of what is to come, right? So you will have to take the dip into 1 or 2 courses and see how it is going. I mean, I don't understand. So it's kind of a vague question, but yeah, I mean, the effort I would say is very much, person dependent. I'm a BBA second year student. I've given 3 attempts for a BSc program. I have not succeeded because of maths, as you guys just has the advanced level topic, which is not enough. So this is a question I think which would be rightly answered by a maths instructor. I'm not competent enough to do that. I'm sorry about it. I'm planning to take both Java and DBMS. I have no prior knowledge. So we are here to teach you, right? The basics, starting from basics. We'll start from the basics. Only thing you just have to put in that extra effort to learn and practice with us. One simple advice to all of you: do every single assignment, starting from activity questions, practice assignment, graded assignment, everything, OP, programming questions, everything do on your own. Then you will not need any, then you will not find any issue in it. It should be very much doable. If you are not able to join the live sessions, whenever you are free, just watch them offline, maybe running at 1.x or 2x, whatever. And just try to watch this, because we have heard from your seniors that live sessions have been useful in both the languages. So please try to attend the live sessions and try to clarify all your queries. It will also help us improvise and improve the content of the course and the course delivery, starting from the difficulty level of questions plus the whatever are the additional tutorials or support needed for the students. Can DBMS and PDSA be taken simultaneously, or will there be requirement for completing? No, there is no operational requirement as such. You can take both simultaneously. There is no prerequisite for either of them. So you can take them together. But yes, depending on difficult, and if you want to know about the difficulty level, whether both can be done in the same term, I would say talk to your seniors. Okay. Which other courses would you suggest we take with DBMS? I've already answered that question. Respected ceremony, we have 2 parts in diploma: diploma for data science and diploma for programming. Is it necessary to first complete all courses in diploma in programming and then in diploma in data? That's not necessary. You can actually, mix and combine and take it. So you can actually do the prerequisite courses in the first term for both streams and then go on to the advanced courses. So that's also possible. So you don't have to finish one full diploma, wait to finish one full diploma before you move on to the other. So I'm not sure about the direct diploma entry cases. If you have registered for both diploma, how to go about it, I'm not sure. I'm talking in general about the people who have completed foundation courses. Okay. Any upgrades, as many complaints there on programming portal by last term students, like error not visible. Yeah, these will be like, this will in the first run, second run, third run, it will get improving. But as much as possible, we are trying to improve all the issues with respect to the portal. So whatever issues were there in the OPE1 was not there in the OPE2. And the students were quite happy with the way portal functioned for Java in the OPE2. And for DBMS, we only had one OPE1, so we did not get any time to say improve the portal in the same term. So I would say this term we should be able to address all the issues that happened during the OPE1 of the previous term of the DBMS. Will it be a wise decision to take DBMS and programming concepts using Java together? Yeah, that's totally fine. Can you please plan at least one session in weekend for every week? Yeah, we have one weekend session, live session every week. If you're talking about the live session. Is Java a different subject from DBMS or both are clubbed together? Both are different courses. Will installation of Java 11 be explained in the course? Yes, we'll be giving you instructions, but there are detailed instructions in the Oracle web page itself, but we'll also give you instructions on how to install the Java, along with probably the IDE also, the Eclipse, right? Do we have to do a project? There is no project component in DBMS or Java. Is there a capstone project in the same? No, there is no capstone project in either DBMS or Java. So these are the questions which I have taken from the forms, the Google form that we've given. Okay. Now, let me just take some questions from the YouTube chat. I'm just quickly scanning through. Just give me a minute. Okay, what will be the weightage of OPE? That will be given in the detailed grading pattern document, which will be releasing before the registration starts. What is SQL? Okay, SQL, anyway, you're going to learn it, right? Post-registration, that I am not very sure. I think you have to check. How is DBMS related to MAD1? Okay, see, application development 1 course is where, you have to develop a web application. And for any web application which involves some kind of an interaction with the user, some kind of inputs, taking inputs and then updating, generally involves some database in the backend, right, where the data will be stored and updated and everything. So in that sense, DBMS is a very much an integral part of the application development course. So we are insisting that DBMS is either a core requisite or a prerequisite course for MAD, because in the 5th week or 6th week of application development, we will be you will have to start working on databases and object relational mapper, which are used to connect the database from the application. So yeah, but before that, you will have completed the SQL part in the DBMS if you're doing both together. Will you be teaching stored procedures? Yes, stored procedures will be there. Okay, DBMS and the PADSA can be taken simultaneously. Yes, there are no official operational issues with that, but difficulty level, please talk to your seniors. Okay. When have Java when there is Python? So it's not about Java versus Python, it's about Java plus Python, right? You learn to understand. So, you learn about everything. So, so Python is a different language, Java is a different language, and Java comes under the deployment programming stream, right? It is not a problem. That's probably the question comes from that misconception that, it has something to do with data science component. No, Java comes under the deployment programming, where, you would know that Java is still very, very widely used language in industry. See, one thing that probably many of you have noticed is Python is an interpreted language, whereas Java is a compiled language. So difference between the two, probably you can do a Google search for those who are not aware of it. Interpreted languages are generally slower, whereas when you have a compiled language, it is much faster. So wherever you need something like a real-time response, you would prefer Java as compared to Python. But then yes, later versions of Python are quite comparable to what Java can offer. But at the same time, Java is also trying to come up with a lot of things that Python has to offer. So it's like both are independently developed as languages on But the other important thing that I want to stress on is this course is not learning Java. It is more about learning the object-oriented concepts using Java as a tool. So if you want to use a tool, you should know what the tool is about, right? So if you want to use Java, you should know the syntax of Java. That is what we will be addressing the first few weeks of this course. Okay. along with, of course, object-oriented concepts. So it's more about object-orientedness rather than learning Java as such. Both Java and Python taught within 2026. What role in Java? Yeah, Java does not. So, I mean, yeah, you can in some way find some, contrived application of Java and data science, but clearly, yes, Python is more used in machine learning and other parts of data science. But Java is under the deployment programming and not to do directly with the data science part of it. Python has taken over. No one uses Java in data science. Maybe you should Google it up. Whether Java is used. I mean, of course, it's not used in data science, but as I've been insisting, it's not, Java is not part of the data science stream anyway. So we don't know what would be the most optimum combination of courses to take in the first term of diploma. Yeah, Nandini, sorry, yeah, Bhaskar.
Yeah. So just on this particular question, I would just like to mention one small thing. So as ma'am was telling all of you now that the speed thing is there, and there are multiple other things, cross-platform issues, and all other advantages are there for Java. And it's not proper to compare Java and Python, but all those things are okay. I mean, that's already has been addressed by ma'am. But particularly to this point that no one uses Java in machine learning. Yeah, you are correct. Not at least in the application. I mean, not at least in the basic algorithm development phase or planning phase and all those things. But as Java is quite speedy, it is actually used, means I have personally worked, I will not name the company or the place, but I have personally worked in a machine learning project which has to be embedded into a program which was written in Java. And that's why many parts of the machine learning itself was also written in Java, right? So that was a specific requirement, and this requirement would be very much common when you are developing real world software, which has to also cater to the performance and not only to the end product, the service that it provides. Okay, you cannot allocate a huge lot of resources to your program to run, because that would cost the benefit to cost ratio of your company's project. Correct. So you have to also think about the technologies which you are using, the speed and the resources it requires to run. So Java is much better in that respect, from multiple perspectives, right? And that's why it's wrong to say it's no one uses. If you go to real life application, you would see that 90% of the work, obviously the basic things are done in Python. But when you are going into application specific thing now, when you are embedding your machine learning product, let's say into a hardware, you would see that there are multiple things that you have to write in C++ or C, and so to say in also Java, because this provides you better performance, better speed up. So those things are there. The machine learning concepts are also written in Java and C++. So if you are, that is also done. So yeah, it's wrong to say it's not used, but it is also correct that that is not the motive, right? We are not learning Java or object to go into to use it in data science. As ma'am has explained to you, the motive here is to learn about the object-oriented concepts. So, but specifically, I wanted to comment it because I have personally worked on a machine learning project where we had to use Java and do the machine learning work only. I mean, Java not for doing anything else, but to do the machine learning work. Fine. So yeah, man, that was
yeah. Thanks, Bhaskar. And to say that it is not used. I mean, it is not useful anywhere. I mean, that's totally wrong to say, as because you can actually do, I mean, search and see, how many places Java is actually used. So it's not like everyone has moved to Python. So yeah. So one line of Python may be equal to 20. So that's programmer's comfort. But if you see the compiled code, the number of lines will be quite comparable. I wouldn't say that Python has the same fewer lines even in the compiled code, right? Ultimately, it has to run in the machine and it has to be in the machine code, right? So there probably it will be quite comparable. Anyone who can understand logic? Okay, just one second. Let me look for the questions.
Yeah, Java would be much more faster, the compiled code. Much more faster.
Yeah. Right. C++ would have been better than oops. No, C++ has the other aspect, the functional programming as well, right? So to learn the object-oriented concepts, probably we want something which is strictly tied to objects and object-orientedness, right? Which is Java, and that's why we have went ahead. So be assured that the options, the choices that we've made have been made by well-informed IITM faculty, CMI faculty, all these people, like, the committee has discussed and decided that this is the best way to go about it. So please be assured that whatever is being taken here, whatever courses are being offered here, are quite relevant to whatever is required and will do justice to the degree, which is BSc in programming and data science. Okay. There was OOPS concept even in Python. Yes, there was OOPS concept in Python, but as I was saying, it is not a strictly object-oriented tied language, whereas Java is. So we won't be working as programmer, but as data scientist. But unfortunately, this course is on BSc in programming as well as data science, not just data science. Okay. I just kidding. I totally understand what you mean. Okay. What is prerequisite to excel this? Okay. Okay, so how much time per week will Java will take? So I think I have addressed that. So 2.5 to 3 hours of lecture watching time, and possibly depending on your background, I would say 10 to 15 hours per week. Okay. Then MySQL and Postgre. Okay, difference between MySQL and Postgre, almost very comparable, but PostgreSQL has an open source. So we have decided to go ahead with that. We are going to use PostgreSQL exclusively, no percentage of MySQL at all. Okay. Not necessary to compulsory to complete the programming diploma before. Yeah, you can do both diplomas in parallel as well, in the sense that we can complete the prerequisite courses of both streams in parallel and then move on to the advanced courses. So I guess I have addressed almost all the questions in the the YouTube chat as well as the Google Forms. Yeah, so I don't see any more questions coming up. I guess, I hope I'm right, no? Bhaskar, I hope, can you just confirm there are no more questions, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So thank you, everyone. So totally looking forward to, having live sessions, discussions, and active participation from you, and, going ahead with these two courses. So just feel free to get to us, post in the discussion forum, post in the Discourse whenever you have a question on whatever queries you need to clarify. Okay. So thank you very much. We'll wind up the session. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.